Yo guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you've never been here before. So I've just jumped on today to do my weekly forecast, and this will be the weekly forecast for the week commencing the 20th of June. So guys, sorry about last week, I didn't manage to get on to make a forecast. I had some personal commitments that I couldn't get out of, so I didn't get the forecast out last week, but I'm back today, so I will be continuing the forecast as normal. So before we do start, I would just draw your guys' attention to my forecasting, the written version of the forecast for today. So if you guys want to see the written version of this forecast, then it will be linked in the description below the video. Alright guys, so let's get started. Alright, so NZDUSD this week. So for the last few weeks, I've been looking at this range here, which is a bearish range. So that was the range caused by that boss there. Now, what we've actually seen coming into the week just gone, we've actually broken structure again now on the low. So at this point, we've now got the break structure, mitigation, and then a new break structure. So we're very much within a bearish bias on NZD. And our new range now is from this high here to this low here. So what I'm essentially looking for is a continuation lower out of somewhere within this range. Now, for me, really, there's two areas within the range that I'm actually interested in. So the first area that I'm interested in is this extreme up here. So if we think about it in terms of the whole range, this is the most premium area to sell from. And now when we look at the 4 hour, there's also actually imbalance that's been left behind there. So for me, that's one place that I think we could be selling from, which also ties up with that wick trick there. But honestly, I do think that it's quite ambitious really to consider that we're just going to go all the way back to that small area there and then sell off. But at the same time, if you look at these candles on the daily, there's no real major imbalance because each candle fills each of the next candles in balance, and the imbalance really only starts from this candle here, which is where also this wick is. So for me, based on the fact we've got efficient pricing there and then the imbalance starts, I think the most logical place for price to start selling off from is actually within this candle here, and more specifically within the wick. So I will just show you the 4 hour now. So we can see on the 4 hour, we've got very clear institutional candle. It's got imbalance under it and it's not been mitigated yet. So what I'm expecting going into next week, we're going to see start of the week, we'll see the 1 hour, 2 hour push up into this area. And then once we do get into this area, we can then look for a sell off out of there. And that will just take us to break this daily structure yet again. So that's what I'm really expecting on NZD/USD this week. You know, we do have this bullish structure, which to tie in with, as you'll see, some other bullish structures that we've got forming. So what could happen also is we will see this violated. In that case, then we can look to follow the 4 hour bullish, and then we can also be looking at the sells out of this daily extreme when we do get up there. So for me, that's pretty much the end of D really. We're looking to sell overall following this range. We've got this area which is clear to sell from, this area which is the extreme, which is also clear to sell from. And of course, then if we do end up transitioning bullish on the 4 hour, we can just follow the 4 hour bullish because at the end of the day, we don't know where the bullish structure will take us on the 4 hour. So that's how I'm seeing the end of DUSD this week. All right, so AUD/USD. Now, they're quite similar in the structure, but they are still somewhat different. So with AU, we had this breaker structure that we've been looking at for the last few weeks. We've now reacted clearly off this POI after grabbing liquidity from the high, and then we've seen this impulsive move down. Now, within that, we've still not actually taken out this low, so we've not actually created that new low on AU like we did on NZD. So for me, I am still anticipating that this low is going to be broken because this range does have bearish nature. So for me, I do still think that the low will be broken. So based on that, I'll take a look at the 4 hour and see what we've got on there. So on the 4 hour, we've got this break structure. That is the most recent one for me. That's not. So this is the full break structure leg. So our current high on the 4 hour is here. And we've got, again, the clear institutional manipulation candle. So I will be happy to sell out of there. So price, hopefully, start of the week, retraces up here. And then when we do get into there, we'll get a nice confirmation entry for sells. And then we can look to sell out of there to then take out that daily low. So that is honestly the only main thing that I'm seeing on AUD. Now, obviously, if it does break again, we could be seeing a bullish transition. But based on just the information that's been presented so far, for me, I'm really interested in this sell out of here this week. Alright, so that's AUD. So moving on to Euro USD. Alright, so the thing with Euro USD, the structure is actually a bit different to AU and NU. So I am aware that, you know, these forecasts may slightly conflict each other, but I do just tend to take each pair on its own structure. I don't think too much into the correlation, so that is why you might see some type of conflicting forecasting here. But this is what I'm seeing on it, Euro USD. So Euro USD overall, we're in this overall downtrend, and the bearish bias is dictated by the fact that the last time we had 2 consecutive breaks of structure, it was bearish. So until this sell thesis invalidation point is really broken above, we are still, for me, in an overall sell thesis situation and a bearish bias situation. So based on that, at the minute, what we've got is this order block here, which is a clearly valid order block for sells. Now, also, what we have to remember is that we've now had that one bullish break of structure as well, and that's left behind this bullish order block here. So as well as a valid order block for sales up here, we've also got this order block for buys down here. So, you know, for me, as we can see now, we are actually reacting off this bullish order block for buys. So we've come down here, now we're reacting off the order block, and what we have is a clear area up here to target, which the institutions in my mind will want price to come back up to, so they can mitigate all the sell or all the buy orders, sorry, that they took to get the liquidity for this sell move. So for me, what I'm anticipating essentially is we're going to now move up away from this valid order block. We'll then tap into the sell order block, and then we can look for sells away from there to then make new lows on the euro dollar. So considering that, essentially at the start of the week, I'm going to be looking for the buys, and then later in the week or maybe early next week, hopefully we'll be up here and we can look to sell off from there. So considering what I've said, we're coming right now, we're coming out of the daily bullish order block, and on the 4 hour you can see we've grabbed liquidity from the low, and we've now broken structure very impulsively, leaving behind this clear bullish order block. So for me, and I won't set it as a limit order, but I would be quite happy to with this one, I will just be looking for buys out of this area, and then that should take us up to there on the euro dollar, and then hopefully we can look for the reversal from up here and ride it down as well. So that is my plan with euro dollar, guys. We're buying from the 4 hour, and then we're targeting the daily sell OB, and then we can see what happens when we get into there and see if we can sell away from that. Alright guys, so pound dollar this week. Alright, so pound dollar, guys, is actually quite simple this week, really. So we broke structure, and then we broke the structure to the high, but it's not actually respected that bullish intent that it gave. And what we've actually seen is a very impulsive break of structure to the low now. So based on that, for me, I am just looking to continue the sells now. I think that it's definitely in a bearish bias, this market at the minute. So based on continuing to look for sells, for me, I'm going to look for sells out of this candle here, which is the last buy candle before this sell move. So for me, that is my order block for sells. So what I'm essentially anticipating is that price is going to come back up into here, mess around a bit, and then we'll see it start to drop out of there. So hopefully that's what's going to happen on GU this week. I know that for me, when it does get up here, I'll definitely be interested in taking sells from there. Now, what we've also got to consider though is on the way up, we are obviously going to have to make a decent move. It's like 250 pips. So looking at a 4 hour structure, we've got this clear bullish intent, which also lines up with the previously spoken about euro dollar 4 hour. And based on that, that's essentially left behind a very clear order block for us to buy from, which we can then use to target this area. So for me, start of the week, given the opportunity, I'll be happy to buy out of this area. And then with that, initial target will be this area here. And then once we do get into here, I'll be looking to sell, and we can look to then sell that to take it into new lows. Now, one thing I will say as well, obviously we never know if an order block's going to be respected or violated. So what's cool is if we can enter this counter trend buy and this does end up getting violated, then we could be really low in the actual move back up. But as I say, I am anticipating that when we get into here, we are going to end up selling off. So if you do get into this trade, I would advise taking most of the position off as we start to tap into this area in the daily. So that is really pound dollar this week. It's pretty simple structures that are playing out this week. All right, and finally, guys, we've got pound yen. So pound yen, we're still within our overall bullish thesis, and that's because of the last two consecutive breaks with these two here. So within that bullish thesis, what we've got is this unmitigated order block at the low down here. And then what we've also got, which is relevant, is the order block that caused the most recent break structure. So for me, we've got this one down here. So if we do end up down there, then absolutely we can look for buys out of there. That is fully valid and makes sense. So whether we probably won't end up down there this week, but if we do end up down there at some point before we break the high, then it's absolutely fine to look for buys. But what I will just focus on is the more recent price action. So what we've had is the break structure here. That was caused by the order block, which for me is that whole bearish candle there. Now, looking at what's happened, we've clearly wicked into it, and then we've seen that rejection coming through. So, I mean, for me now, we're pretty much mitigated the order block, and we're now looking at this bullish continuation situation. So, if we look at the 4 hour to try to find some structure to actually take an entry from, well, after tapping into here, what we had is a 4 hour break of structure over there. So we've got this break structure, and what that has left behind is a clear order block candle. And then for me, the wick is super clear that that is grabbed liquidity below these lows. It's mitigated the daily OB. So now, if they are going to go on that big move, I do just think that it's going to make sense for it to come out of this 4 hour wick. So on GJ this week, I will be looking at buys out of this 4 hour wick. And yeah, that's pretty much it for pound yen, guys. So, you know, if we do start transitioning bearish, then we can look to follow the bearish situation. But as it stands right now, I am just looking at us buying out of here. So guys, we'll have to see what happens. That's pound yen this week, and that's pretty much it for the forecast this week, guys. So if you've got any comments or any questions, then please do just leave a comment in the description. Other than that, have a safe trading week, guys. Follow your trading plans, stick to your risk management, make sure you're journaling your trades. That's super key. And thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you all have a good week.